listening to the Straight to Video podcast with Rob Lane.
What's up? Hope you're doing great and welcome along to the Straight to Video podcast. On today's show, my guest is Erica Nockalls, violinist, singer-songwriter and visual artist who since the mid-2000s has been a member of the legendary UK indie rock band The Wonder Stuff, along with also appearing on tour with The Proclaimers. This August, though, we'll see the release of Erica's brand new and third solo record called Dark Music from a Warm Place. And the lead single, I Know, is out now, and you can check out the great video on YouTube right after you've heard our chat. First up, though, I want to thank everyone who continues to support the show with your regular feedback, comments, and social media shares. And a big shout out to everyone over on the Straight to Video Patreon page, which continues to be a lot of fun. If you head on over to patreon.com/STVpod, you can find out how to become even more involved in the show, which includes early news on guests, a bonus podcast, next one will be out next week, by the way, and also some exclusive merch, which won't be available anywhere else. And also our friends Dead Skull Coffee continue to support this podcast by offering you, the listeners, 15% off their excellent ground or full bean coffee. Simply head on over to deadskullcoffee.co.uk and on checkout, just add the promo code STV and the discount will be added then. Okay, if you want to grab Erica's brand new album, Dark Music from a Warm Place, then it's available to pre-order in various bundles along with their amazing artwork, which can all be found at ericanockalls.com, and you can also find Erica on Facebook at simply Erica Nockalls Music. Really was great to chat with Erica. She's currently living out in Paris, and we talk all about her early introductions into music and the violin through to getting the chance to join the Wonder Stuff, and we cover a bunch of other fun things too. So hope you enjoy it as we dive into my straight to video chat with Erica Nockalls. Got it.
Hey man, how's it going?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm sweltering.
Oh, tell me about it. Tell me. It's the same here.
It's a bit rough. Is it mad over there as well?
Yeah, we had like a bit of a thunderstorm about an hour ago.
Maybe broken the atmosphere a bit then.
Yeah, so I went downstairs and I came up to get ready and I was like, wow, it's like a sauna in here. It's nuts.
Yeah, I don't have any of the windows open. All the shutters are down. It's like living in Spain. How's it going, man? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. Yeah,
cool.
So,
it's been a while.
Yeah, definitely. So this podcast's kept me busy for the last year or so.
Yeah, you've done loads, haven't you?
See, I set the bar high. I'm a big fan of Mark Maron. So I was like, he does 2 a week, so I'm going to do 2 a week.
Cool. And he's the American comedian, yeah?
Yeah, like stand-up guy, bit of an actor as well. So I was like, I copied that blueprint and now I'm like, shit, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I bet. A lot of prep as well, I imagine. Are you a little bit of a perfectionist, are you?
I'm not a big talker, to be honest. I like listening to people.
Yeah, same. Well, this should go well.
How's things over there? You keeping busy?
Yeah, just finishing off the last bits of promo for my album, which should be coming out late August 27th, Dark Music from a Warm Place. It's surprisingly time consuming putting a record out these days, because if being a musician was just about making the music, it would be absolutely fine, but it's not, is it?
The whole landscape's changed and it's still changing. Yeah. So where are you now? Are you actually in Paris?
I'm in Paris for a bit, hanging out in the northeast of the city. It's really cool. I love it here.
Is it somewhere you visited before and like, oh, I like this place?
I first was invited over here in 2016 with a friend, and I just fell in love with it. And I thought, you know what, I could probably live here one day. And the opportunity came to me last year. I thought, well, I might just go and relocate for a while, see how it goes. And I absolutely love it. I love the food, the architecture and the culture, the cafe culture. But of course, as soon as I came here, it was pandemic time. So it was all going really well for about a month. And then, oh, bloody hell. Right, okay, just stay inside for the next year and a half.
How's the French speaking?
I'm on my 4th French teacher. I don't know if that says more about my teachers or me.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying my best. And like I said, it was all going really well when I first came here, because I was going out and I was talking to people, having conversations with strangers, which is a really good way to learn a language.
Same as music. They say you can do all the teaching, but just get out there playing with people.
Yeah, you just got to practice, haven't you? But since the practice has stopped, I've just been having online lessons. I'm getting there slowly. I couldn't have a conversation in French, but I'd say I can, with context, I could pretty much understand about 50% of what's being said.
It's a good position to be in, though. You're actually there now. Like, you've got to learn it. It's not something like you fancy doing when you're at home.
Yeah, it's survival.
Yeah, exactly. Survival's a good way of putting it.
It's not a hobby. Yeah.
Right, I've got to learn to figure this shit out.
Yeah. But I'm enjoying it. I like a challenge. Del Boy from Only Fools and Horses has done a right number on me, because when I came here, I thought Del Boy expressions and phrases were real and true.
Which ones did you try and drop?
But my friends are so polite, they never pick me up. So, you know, when you say after you, if you say go first through a door or something, Del Boy would say, avez-vous? Of course it's not avez-vous, it's après-vous. So a combination of Del Boy and my, I don't want to be disparaging against my French GCSE teacher, but a lot of it was wrong.
Okay. Brilliant. Well, if it's okay to, with the podcast, I kind of trace people's journey a little bit. So if that's okay to throw things right back to Doncaster, if that's cool.
Yeah, start from the beginning. Why not?
So you were born and raised in and around Doncaster, and what you've said was kind of a small, quiet farming area.
Yeah, I was born in Rotherham, apparently. That's what my birth certificate says. I don't know Rotherham. I think I was just born in the hospital and then left. I lived in a place called Tickhill, which is near Doncaster, and went to primary school there, and then moved to a place called Root when I was 11 years old, which is on the Isle of Axholme, which is just on the North Lincolnshire, South Yorkshire border. Is that
where your family is still from?
Yeah, they all sort of live there now, yeah. But yeah, it's a very small farming village, which is, it's lovely, and it's lovely to go back for a little bit of a relaxing break. And I do miss it, and I have lots of friends there. Big up Root.
And your dad was a classical guitarist and your mum a watercolour painter, right?
That's right. My dad still plays guitar. He doesn't do it professionally anymore, but yeah, that's how I pretty much got into music.
You had a blueprint from the get-go.
Absolutely. But because my dad was a classical guitarist, he was keen for me to take up guitar with him. And despite me saying that I wanted to play the violin, but I ground him down after about a year. And he said, oh, right, I can go and have violin lessons. But I think because he was in the industry, he knew how expensive pursuing a career in the violin would be, because it bloody is. It's really quite dear. And my dad started learning violin with me when I was 7, which was lovely of him. And he did teach me quite a lot, because he didn't play violin, but he thought if he learns with me, he knows obviously about the theory of music and he can help me out in places. But I think after a few months he gave up, because you know when you're little, your brain's a sponge and you just absorb everything. Mm-hmm. So I picked it up quite quick.
What was your influence to not go the guitar route but went the violin route?
Well, at the time, my dad was writing classical guitar tuition books, and there was one book that, this is going to sound really arrogant, and it's not meant to, but I did the whole tuition book in a day, and it's meant to take us a school year.
Wow.
And not that I thought it was too easy, but it just didn't. I think it's the science of this. Oh, I'm going to get technical. The science of the sound of the guitar wasn't as pleasing to me as the sound of the violin, because obviously with a violin, it's bowed, it's sustained, and you can do a lot more with it. I don't think I had the right shape body to. I've got quite weak wrists, and a classical guitar neck's really wide, and it didn't feel comfortable. So yeah, I was just drawn to the violin, the sound of the violin. I just loved it, I still do.
Did you ever go and watch your dad perform live though, when he was playing? Did he do many live shows?
No, his playing career was pretty much not over, but his performance career was done by the time I was a kid. Yeah, it was before my time, really. I wish I had.
And what about your mum's artwork? Was that something that intrigued you as well? Did she do that a lot, or was that just a little hobby?
Yeah, I mean, she was semi-professional, I suppose, but she was working at the same time. But she would have these art exhibitions, and I would remember her painting loads when I was a kid. And because, you know, kids are annoying, essentially. I remember sitting under the table where she was painting and just tickling her feet, wanting some attention. But I was absolutely fascinated by how she could conjure up something from nothing. And it was utterly beautiful to my young eyes. So I suppose being an artist now and a musician, it's no surprise where all that came from.
Exactly, yeah. So that blueprint was there straight from the get-go. Did you have an equal interest in both art and music, or was art something that came along later on?
Oh, no, I've only been painting for 9 years, maybe.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was told at school that I was no good at it. And they were arguably right. I don't know. But, can you cast your mind back to being in comprehensive school in art class? You're given a brush with bristles that are going in every single direction. They're all knackered. And you're given some paint. And that's the only way that you can make art. And if you're not good at doing that, then you're deemed as unhopeful. But I didn't know that you could paint without brushes, which is what that's my style. I don't paint with brushes.
Oh, nice.
I use my fingers. Yeah. If I'd have known that that was an acceptable sort of path to take making art, then I might have done a bit better at school, and I might have, well, you can't say what might have done, but no, I was discouraged from an early age.
What opened that door then with the whole painting with fingers thing? Did you see somebody else doing it?
No, I know that I'm rubbish with pencils and brushes. I was skint one year. I thought, well, what can I give for people? For Christmas presents, what can I give to people?
Genius.
So, yeah, I'm going to make a homemade pasta sticky. No, I'm joking. So, and I was in this really cheap pound shop, supermarket type weird shop in Shropshire when I lived there. And they were selling these art kits that came with a stretch canvas and a pack of tiny, tiny little oils, every different colour. And I thought, I'll just have a go. And then I took a photo of what I did and I posted it on Facebook, I think it was, yeah. And I was overwhelmed by the reaction. And I thought, oh, wow, I thought it was rubbish. And I only did it on a Sunday afternoon when the beef roast was in the oven. And it just took off from there. And I was just amazed that people kind of liked.
That's nuts. I thought it's something you've been doing all the time you were growing up and stuff. That's crazy.
No, and I recently thought, well, not recently, a few years ago, I thought maybe I should go to art school and learn how to do it properly. But then I thought, well, if I do that, my style's going to change. I mean, I'd love to know how to do things properly. And I'm often frustrated as an artist because I don't have the technical knowledge. But no, I sacked that idea off.
Have you had any feedback from other artists on your style?
Have I? No.
No?
Other than my mother.
Okay. What does she think?
Very nice, love. I think that's great.
Awesome.
Yeah. God bless my parents, right?
Excellent. So as you were growing up, what music was you listening to? Was you seeking out music that would contain the violin and relating to it? Or did you just have two different paths, the music you were studying and the music you listened to outside of that?
No, I mean, times have changed, haven't they? You don't seek out music as a 7-year-old in 1990. There was just no seeking. There was no internet, of course. No, it was my dad's fault. He introduced me to Vivaldi, Nigel Kennedy, the punk fiddle player. And I just thought I loved his style of playing. And he used to play that all the time. Yes, this is brilliant. I want to do that. And then that's what prompted me to pester him for a violin over the guitar.
Was he a contrast to everybody else? Because he was kind of considered younger.
Nigel Kennedy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a maverick. Well, still is.
Yeah?
Yeah, because he was a child prodigy, I think. Well, was he? I'm not entirely sure. Incredibly gifted. And he just had this sort of free, gay abandon, rock and roll approach to classical music. And I thought, well, that's cool because you can learn the rules and you can break them and people will like it. I mean, I think at the time, he was up against a lot of stick, pardon the pun, for his approach to that. But I thought that was brilliant. That was just two fingers to the establishment, which appealed to my young, contrary nature.
You ever cross paths with him?
No, I've tried to stalk him once, but it didn't come to fruition. I've heard he's a really nice guy, though.
You should reach out to him. He probably knows about you, but you don't realise that.
Oh, I doubt it.
You never know.
I don't know. Maybe I'll do it again. Yeah, because I can't remember the reason that I wanted to get in touch with him. I think I got as far as his manager. I think I just wanted to say hi and be friends and go for a pint.
Which could go either way. Like, they'd be like, yeah, I'm into that. Or, no, it's a bit stalkerish.
Yeah, but I don't think he lives in this country anymore. I think he's over in Scandi world. I'm not sure. I'd be making it up if I tried to guess where he lived. But oh well, maybe I'll put that on my list of things to do.
Get back on it.
Yeah, all right. I'll let you know how I get on.
And you got accepted into music school at 9, but you left after only 1 week. Looking back now, would you have still done the same thing or perhaps stuck it out a while longer? Knowing
what I know now, no, because it just didn't feel right. I mean, every night, and I can remember it quite well, there was sleeping in a dormitory about probably housed about 9 other girls. At least one of them was crying themselves to sleep every night, sobbing, not, ugly crying, not just weeping, but just sobbing into their pillows. And I thought, I don't think this is the thing for me. And I didn't really like living in a city when I was 9 as well.
Where was it at?
It was in Manchester. It was Cheetham School of Music. And arguably for my playing, it would have done me the world of good. But psychologically, I don't think I would have coped, or career-wise, I wouldn't have ended up where I am now. So I'm glad that I listened to my little 9-year-old self.
To move away from home at 9 is a big deal anyway, but if you're just not comfortable with the atmosphere and vibe of it as well, it's a tough one.
Yeah, I wasn't ready. I was a young 9-year-old.
And your parents were cool with that? They was like, let's get her out.
Well, they were sort of like raising their eyebrows and, we've gone to all this trouble to get you in, and it's costing us a fortune to send you there, and you don't like it. Because I remember making the phone call at the end of the week. I want to come home. I don't like it anymore. But they just sort of sighed, rolled their eyes and said, oh, okay, we'll take the long way round. And I continued with private classical lessons from then till the time I went to, from the time I graduated the Conservatoire in 2006. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you get to play with any bands around like the Doncaster, Rotherham area at all, or was you just constantly studying?
Well, when I was 19, I moved to Birmingham to go to the Conservatoire there. When I was there, one of the reasons that I wanted to go to a place of higher learning to pursue a Bachelor of Music Performance course was because I wanted to get as good at the violin as I possibly could. But I had a really keen interest, and still do, in metal. So I thought that would be a really good hunting ground for musicians to put a band together, a metal band. Yay!
The home of metal in Birmingham.
The home of metal, yeah. What could go wrong? And I did, and we did. And I had a band called Fireswitch, which was kind of like I'm not going to say prog, but it was progressive, sort of weird metal. And I was playing violin and sharing lead vocals in that. Don't know if the demos still exist, but at the time I was really happy with it.
What kind of bands were you listening to then? What was your exposure to that? Because that's quite a contrast. Perhaps not as big a contrast now as it was back then, in a way.
Even though when I was little, I was listening to stuff like Vivaldi. My dad was also introducing me to stuff like Pink Floyd and King Crimson, and my mum was heavily into Roxy music, probably still is. So it wasn't like metal was too far-flung an idea, and it all made sense to me because there's lots of stuff in classical music that metal people are appropriating, and vice versa, I think, probably. So I would go around rock bars and put flyers up on toilet doors, bass player required, lead vocalist required, but because we couldn't find a singer, we ended up doing it ourselves. And we had a drum machine, a metal drum machine. Can you imagine that?
How did that? Did someone have to press start on it each time?
Yeah, I think I bought the thing. It was a Zoom. It was one of those fluorescent green Zoom drum machines. And I think the guitarist and the bass player just poked the buttons in it until it sounded half decent. It was fun. And we were quite diligent. We'd rehearse 3 times a week for 4 years. And we gigged a lot around the Midlands. What
was the reaction to the band? Because it must have been quite a contrast to all the stuff that at the time.
Well, when you play a gig and no one really knows what the hell you're doing, they just stand there and look.
I know that feeling.
With absolutely no expression on their faces. Kind of that.
Did you get to see any other live bands around Birmingham once you got there? Did that, moving into that city, did it open things up for you?
Yeah, I was constantly going out to gigs, and the highlight of Fireswitch's career was we got to support Trashlight Vision in Coventry.
One of my favourite bands, AC Slade's a legend.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh,
no
small
way.
world, right?
And where was that
at? The Coventry Jailhouse.
The one with the posts on the stage.
Haven't they all got posts on the stage?
Well, probably, yeah. But I think this has got them right in the middle.
So you can't see anything that's going on, and you can't see the audience when you're playing. Yeah, that one.
Oh, no. Trashlight Vision was such a great band. They had like a massive influence on us just from because they did everything kind of DIY. Such a great band. How was that gig?
It was a long time ago. I'm trying to remember. I believe we had a good old drink afterwards. Yeah, I remember being very chuffed to have got the gig because I'd done some research and I saw that they were touring the UK, and I emailed, say, I don't suppose we can have the support in Coventry, can we? And they just said, oh, well, yeah, no one's ever asked. So yeah, absolutely you can.
How great is that when something like that happens? It's the best.
Absolutely.
Awesome stuff. Awesome. So what else did you learn from being at the Birmingham Conservatoire? Because who was it you studied with? I'm probably going to get the pronunciation right. Was it Ken
Iso, yeah.
And he was from Japan, right?
Yeah, so he was over here teaching at the Conservatoire. He doesn't teach there anymore, but I studied under him for 4 years. And I think it was common back then to change teachers throughout your time at the conservatoire, but I didn't, because I absolutely bloody loved this guy and I was just learning so much from him. He taught me to not be scared of any corner of my violin, which is probably what's got me into the trouble now I'm in with my solo stuff, because if there's no fear, I mean, I don't know if you've ever tried to play the violin.
No, that it has scared me.
If you go up, it gets a bit hairy. You're in a no man's land because obviously you don't have frets.
That's the bit that scares me.
It's anyone's guess what's going on up there, but he just taught me to be fearless, and I really appreciate it. And he taught me so many things. I wish I'd have listened to him more at the time and been less of a know-it-all, but it's hindsight, isn't it?
You guys still in touch?
Yeah, we had a lovely Skype the other day. He's over in LA now, living the dream, and we had a really good natter for over an hour. It was so nice to catch up with him.
But that must have opened things up for you then, being so young, but seeing somebody from another country making a career out of the instrument and stuff, that must have gave you a boost as well. Yeah, this is possible. I'm not just going to study it for so long, then it's going to stop and you're in no man's land. There is things beyond this.
I suppose I was a little bit blinkered, and he opened my mind to various different possibilities of where you could go with learning a classical instrument, but not necessarily pursuing it in a classical, because he's quite an inventive violinist. He does very well at playing modern pieces of music written for violin, not more inventive, more, what's the word? Abstract, more avant-garde stuff. So it wasn't just classical stuff that he was teaching me. It was a mixed bag, and I'm grateful for it.
Combine that with you liking metal music and listening to other stars, that's helped you in your career. You're not just kind of focused on, I'm studying classical, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use what I've learned and put it into different avenues of music and find the way to be creative that way.
But it was a bit of a shame when I was at the conservatoire, because when I joined the Wonder Stuff, I was at the conservatoire and they were a bit reluctant to give me time off school to go on tour.
That's interesting.
Isn't it? Yeah, because they want you to do well, but they don't want you to miss orchestra on a Thursday afternoon. So I remember there was this one time where the Wonder Stuff had a record signing. I'd just joined, and they had a record signing in HMV in Birmingham, the big one. And it was a Thursday, and every Thursday is orchestra rehearsal. And I asked very politely if I could have some time off. And they said, well, not really. That's not really what we're here for. But he went anyway, didn't I? And then when I got my violin on my back and I walked down to the HMV and I saw people queuing around the block, I thought, hold on, I know where my priorities are lying here.
I know where the right decision is in.
Yeah, and that was a big fork in the road for me.
That's crazy. I would have thought they'd have encouraged, like, just Google this band. I mean, Google would have been just about a thing around that time.
Yeah,
just check them out. They've got some cred. And
they're from Birmingham as well. But the worlds just didn't meet ever. But of course, now they're proud of me. Now I've gone and made a semi-success. Oh, you can't make it up, can you?
So speaking of that, it's kind of a life-changing moment in 2004, is it? And you were busking in Stratford-upon-Avon.
It would have been 2004, yeah. When I was at the conservatoire, I didn't really have much money. Well, I didn't have any money. And I didn't really want to get a job either. So I went busking and I picked the most affluent area of the Midlands and was spotted by the Wonder Stuff's producer one day. He walked past and he tracked me down. And it was only because I was in Fireswitch, my metal band. He knew where Fireswitch rehearsed in Birmingham and he was mates with the guy who owned the studio. So again, small world.
Was this Matt Terry? Was he producing?
This was Matt Terry, yeah. Do you know him?
I only got introduced to him basically through the Wonder Stuff when Dharma Drive supported you guys. Drive. I love that band. They were so good.
Weren't they brilliant?
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. Yes, they were. Yes, brilliant.
So yeah, I kind of became a fan then because it was just quirky enough music which I could get into. It was great.
Yeah, and they supported the Wonder Stuff a fair bit. They had this brilliant song called "Give Me the Keys." I remember. Do you remember that? Oh, I'm gonna have to look.
Yeah,
that up
that
now.
was on the first EP. That was.
That's right. Yeah, brilliant.
Superb. So was that a regular busking spot for you?
Well, no, because I'm a bit work shy, so I probably lasted about 3 goes. I went to Stratford maybe 3 times. It was my favourite spot because it was the most lucrative because there were people with a bit of spare cash. Solihull I used to go to. That was good for Christmas because I used to stand outside a shopping centre playing White Christmas solo on the violin. It always brings a tear, that one.
What would happen if you'd have gone to Solihull that day and not to Stratford-upon-Avon?
Who the hell knows?
You ever think about weird things like
all
that?
All the time. How your life just forks and how you're multiplying yourself. Yeah.
It's nuts. It's nuts.
I don't want to think about it.
So Matt tracked you down through Fireswitch and where you was rehearsing. So how did the whole audition come about? Did he loop you in with Miles and the rest of the band?
Matt went to Hockley Street Studios. His friend Martin ran, and he asked his friend for my phone number, and I got a landline call. Do you remember landlines? This chap on the other end of the phone says, "Hello, it's Miles from the Wonder Stuff." I'm like, all right. I was a bit standoffish back in those days. And I was sort of like, well what do you want? I didn't know who he was.
Straight in.
And he said, oh, I just wondered if you might fancy playing violin. Yes, tell me more. Anyway, so he sent me a burnt CD of 4 tracks to learn for an audition. And then he said, come over to Stratford. Let's have a little play, see how we get on. And that was that.
How aware was you of the band's material? Did you have to seek them out? Did you know any of the singles or anything like that?
Well, my sister had, one of those Now compilations. I can't remember what number it was, but it was quite early on. Like a double cassette Now pop chart compilation. And I only knew Size of a Cow from that. So that was the only track that I knew. Because of that, I didn't really know how serious they were as a band, because my brain was in metal band mode. And I thought, hold on, what's going on here? But once I started to learn the tracks, I realized that it was very good quality music. And it's something that I wanted to be involved with. And I tried very hard in my audition, I think. Yeah.
Didn't you mention you didn't like the song Cartoon Boyfriend? So you told Miles didn't like it, so didn't learn it.
Hated it. Hated it. I was rehearsing, in my Birmingham flat with this burnt CD on my wonky stereo. And 3 out of the 4 songs I quite liked, but there was this bluegrass style on this song called Cartoon Boyfriend that the previous fiddle player had put down. I don't want to learn that. I don't know how to do it. I don't like it. So I didn't. I skipped it. And maybe half of me thought, we won't get that far in the audition, so it doesn't matter. And I can't be expected to learn everything. But no, I did say that I didn't like it. And I still don't really like it now. It's grown on me slightly. Now I've made the part my own.
I was going to say, have you been able to put your own spin on it?
A little bit, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
That's the line that people associate with, it's the main riff of the song. You can't change it that much.
Didn't you say that you think that's perhaps what got you the gig, though? Because you were balls enough to say that.
Yeah, arguably.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Because that could have gone either way.
Well, you know what Miles is like. He's a contrary character, and I think he liked my feistiness. Yeah.
So how was that transition from being a studying musician playing in small pubs to stepping onto a big stage and big audiences, HMV signings? Was you ready for it?
Do you know what? I think because I was 21 at the time, I just took it in my stride. It didn't faze me. I loved it. It felt right. It felt exciting. I mean, being on a tour bus when you're 21 for the first time, being in a gang of mates, it's exciting. It's really exciting. And it's just massive, great larks. And being in the Wonder Stuff taught me a lot. And I was talking to John Robb about this the other day, how the Wonder Stuff have made me a better musician. By being in the band has made me be a better musician because of timing and musicality and just listening to what other people are doing and being considerate of other people's parts, which you don't get from being an orchestral player or a soloist in a classical world.
Because you're focusing on the conductor all the time in an orchestra. And
exactly, yes.
Pushes and pulls are totally different to playing in that band format.
Totally. You're not listening to the kick and the snare because there isn't one. You're just focused on the visual metronome, which isn't metronomic. It's just a guide under a conductor. You're just watching what you're meant to do and you anticipate a lot. And you can't anticipate when you're playing or recording with a band because your timing is going to be wrong. Very grateful for that experience. Still am.
How do you think it would be if you step back into the orchestral format now? Would you be all over the place?
I don't think I'd want to.
No?
I found it intensely boring.
Do you think your inner timing would be totally out? Or would you be able to slot back into that format?
I think I'd be on it too much.
Yeah.
I think I'd be too precise because there's a sort of a rubato aspect to orchestral playing where it isn't metronomic. And being an orchestral player, you don't get to choose what you play. You don't get to choose where you sit in the orchestra. Well, especially at the Conservatoire, you have a different seat in the orchestra every time you have a new body of work to work on and perform. So sometimes you'd be second violin, sometimes you'd be first violin. And this is something that I took umbrage with the Conservatoire, because wouldn't it have been nice if we could have all dropped a little vote of what we all wanted to play? And it wasn't even a syllabus that we were following. It was just... So if I got into a piece of music, so it's like if Rachmaninoff or Sibelius, I'd be into it. But the happier... boring. I can't even be bothered to finish the sentence. It's dull.
I love it. So let's bring things right back to present day. You've got your new album, Dark Music from a Warm Place, out in August, and the lead single, I Know, which has Jar Wobble on bass.
It does.
I'm interested. How was the song presented to him to put the bass line on? Was it pretty much as it is, but without the bass?
Yeah, I think it was, yeah. It's hard for me to think because I've been working on this album for about 3 years. Well, I started working on it over 3 years ago. It's hard for me to remember the state of completion at that point when I sent it over. But yeah, so it had the violin drones on and it had the harmonium, which is twinned with the violin drones. I don't think it had any piano or synth. Can't remember. But I hear he probably was attracted to the track because it had a drone quality to it. which I'm chuffed about. And he's made it, that track.
Well, the bass line is really cool because it has kind of like a cool way of following the vocal melody in parts. But this, I kind of hear like a sort of call and response to it as well.
Do you? Okay, that's cool. I've never really considered that.
That's kind of way I hear certain parts of it. It reminds me of kind of way of our Flea plays. It's like what I consider, what's the way? It's like, it sounds like amazing bass playing, but it's like, oh, it makes sense to do that. You could, if you could dive in and you could learn those parts fairly easily.
Like a question and answer kind of vibe. It's
just the fact that these guys can come up with those parts. That's the thing that blows my mind. Where do those, once you hear them, they're totally simple, totally memorable, but it's actually coming up with them in the first place. That's the magic.
Exactly. And I think the only direction that I offered Jar was, can you just do what you do? Because this whole like dubby world of bass playing is totally beyond anything that I've really known, but I've always appreciated what Jar does. Well, he's a very talented musician, isn't he? He's very fluid and natural, effortless.
Will you be taking the album on tour at some point? Now everything's getting back open again?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's really hard to plan anything. Maybe I'd like to do something in spring 2022, but I think I'd rather leave it until next year, until 2022, to make any decisions. My record label here in France, T-Rec, and in Benelux, Gentleman Recordings, I think are keen to put me out on the road. So maybe some European touring and a little visit to the UK might be on the cards. So yeah, I'm not ruling it out, but it's just so difficult to plan anything just at the minute.
What format would it be? You think you could just do it literally yourself, solo, or would you put a band lineup together like you have done in the past?
Yeah, I think it's going to be just me, just to try something different, because I've been that with my own bands before. I want to try something different. I want to see if I'm capable. It's probably going to be more of a test, yeah.
It's cool though, because it'll open up all new things, because like each album you do seems to stand alone as its own both audio and visual project. So I would imagine that's always important to you. As much thought goes into the visual aspect as it does the music side of it.
Well, I don't really think that too much about the visual aspect. It's not sure, but it is going to be me with some, I'm going to trigger some stuff. And I mean, this sounds really exciting, doesn't it? Come to my show, I'm going to trigger some stuff. Bloody hell. How the tickets will fly out. I don't know. I'll figure it out. It's going to be interesting.
Because you played guitar live in the past, haven't you? Would you perhaps bring that into it as well, do you think?
Yeah, I don't think I'm much of a guitarist.
Don't have to be.
It sounds all right when
Looks
you've got
cool.
a band behind. Yeah, but I'm not a proper guitarist. I'm not like, I don't know chords and stuff. Well, yeah, I do know some. I know E major and E minor in regular tuning, but I don't play in regular tuning. I play in Dad Fad, which is the Dolly Parton tuning. So it pretty much means if you stick your index finger on your left hand, assuming you're a right-handed guitarist, you can just move it up and down. I'm doing this. Up and down, and it makes a chord. And it's called the Dolly Parton tuning because she has long nails and she doesn't want to break them. So she just sticks one finger up and down and it works fine.
See, game changer.
Massive game changer. Love it.
Nice one. So throughout this whole journey, what's been your family's reaction to your music? Do they enjoy it? Or is it hard to gauge from a family point of view? Or are they honest with you?
Oh, they're honest. They're Northern. Of course they're honest. This last album is probably the one they've truly liked. I think it's a bit more of a grown-up album as well. And there's no swearing on it. Always got to think about that, haven't you? They're very proud of me. I think they wonder how I've done what I've done, because I remember my dad was saying to me, so what are you going to do when you grow up? I just kind of just shrugged and said, stuff. And he was worried by that remark, as you probably would be as a parent. But I think both my parents and my family, all my family, are quite proud of me and what I've done. Because I've not broken the mold or anything, but I've gone my own way. I've taken my own path, and it's sort of worked out so far. Touches wood.
Yeah, doing all right.
Yeah.
Well, if you could have told that journey to your 7-year-old self, what's going to happen, I think she'd have been like, yeah, this sounds pretty awesome. I'll go for that.
I don't know what she would... 7-year-old me was quite bossy. I don't know what she would have said. 17-year-old me probably would have relished the enthusiasm a bit more.
Love it. Well, thanks ever so much for talking to us.
Oh, it's been lovely to see you and talk
catching
to you,
up.
yeah.
It's been a lot of fun. So good luck with the new album, which is out in, what will it be? Just over a month?
August 27th. And I've rather cunningly decided to release it on my birthday weekend. So if anybody wants to know what to buy me for my birthday, dark music from a warm place.
Sweet. And is it all through your website?
There's physical on my website, ericanockalls.com. There's digital on Bandcamp, Erica Nockalls Bandcamp. Yep. And then you can do the rubbish streaming stuff on the usual platforms.
Gets the word out there, though.
Oh, does it? I'm sick of it, yeah.
Apparently playlists are the way to go. That's to the way to
Oh,
generate
do you know what I
things.
found out though recently? I was advised to employ a Spotify plugger.
Oh, right.
Did you even know these existed?
No, it doesn't surprise me, though.
No, I don't know why I'm surprised, but you pay someone to get you on a playlist on Spotify and it can cost thousands of pounds. And then what you get in return is what, 0.00003 pence?
It's the modern day equivalent of a radio plugger, I guess.
Yeah, so there's no guarantees and everything, but at least a radio plugger it seems like an actual job. Oh, I don't know. I'm cross about the whole thing. Don't get me started.
Well, what you're doing
I was
is
having
great.
a nice day until we talked about that.
Oh, shit. well, good luck with everything. I look forward to see some live shows at some point.
Thanks, mate. Look forward to seeing you too.
Definitely. Alrighty.
All right,
Enjoy
then.
the rest of your day.
Cheers, mate. Nice to see you.
Speak to you later.
Bye.
Thanks so much to Erica Nockalls for joining me here on the Straight to Video podcast and sharing all her great stories just as she's about to release her brand new album, Dark Music from a Warm Place, which you can pre-order right now, and it's available in all sorts of cool merch bundles too from ericanockalls.com. Also, please continue to visit and show your love to our website stvpod.com, where you can find over 100 episodes of this show, along with straight-to-video music and merchandise, and you'll also find links to our Patreon page too to get even more involved in the show, or you can just jump straight in at patreon.com/stvpod. As always, thanks so much for your support of this show. Hope you're continuing to enjoy these chats, and I look forward to doing it all again soon.